We're going to look next at a global crisis of which many Canadians may not be fully aware: modern-day slavery. The numbers are staggering. 50 million people enslaved worldwide, including 70,000 here in Canada. And these are numbers according to the Global Slavery Index. That reality is the impetus for a new global initiative launched today by former British Prime Minister Theresa May. And she has been giving an exclusive interview to our senior international correspondent, Margaret Evans. Margaret with me this morning, and good to see you as always. Particularly interested to hear what Theresa May has to say. Tell us about this initiative that she's launching today, Margaret.
Well, Heather, this is an issue that is close to Theresa May's heart and has been since 2015. She introduced the British Modern Slavery Act back in 2015. She says that people have forgotten about it. She calls it the single most important human rights issue of our time, and she wants people to start paying attention to it again. So here's a little bit of our interview.
This issue has dropped down the political agenda. We've seen in recent years the impact of COVID, the impact of conflict, the impact of climate change. These have all increased the number of people in slavery, increased the vulnerability to people being exploited and taken into slavery. That's why we need the Global Commission.
She's hoping to get countries around the world to sign up to this. This is still very early stages. And she says what really is needed is for countries to adopt legislation with teeth. One example of just how difficult that is here in the United Kingdom, where new legislation introduced by the current Conservative government to stop illegal immigration is being seen to undermine Theresa May's original Modern Slavery Act. And that's because if it is passed, it's currently before the courts, that legislation will allow the UK to deport immediately anybody who has arrived on these shores illegally. And of course, critics, including Theresa May, say that will make it harder, more difficult for people who are indentured, in servitude, to actually come forward and ask for help for fear of being deported. And they also say that will make it harder to target criminal gangs enslaving people.
Margaret, I understand that Theresa May wants to bring Canada in as part of this new global commission. How much of an issue is this, modern slavery and human trafficking in this country?
Well, it is a big enough issue for the government to be bringing in its own Modern Slavery Act. It's due to come into force in January. Theresa May was very much aware of that and very direct in her request that Canada join this global commission to try to give it added force, as she wants as many countries as possible. And here's what she had to say about the numbers in Canada.
What the Global Commission can do is ensure that this human rights issue, this issue of modern slavery, is raised up the political agenda. And there is so much more that can be done in countries across the world, including in Canada. It's estimated there are about 70,000 people in slavery in Canada today. That may be an underestimate.
And the problem, of course, Heather, as May pointed out, and Anti-Slavery International as well, this is a problem that is in plain sight. It's hidden, though. We don't see it. We see the people all around us who could be suffering from modern slavery, but we can't identify them. That's what this Global Commission is trying to get at. When you look at the problems in Canada, there have been some criticism of industry, from industry, of the new legislation coming from Canada, because some of the things that the May Commission and others are asking for is for companies to sign up to transparency laws that would enforce or compel them to look at their global supply chain. So where are their products coming from? What are the working conditions along that supply chain? The Canadian legislation is actually more advanced than that exists here in the United Kingdom, where it's voluntary, and the number of companies actually presenting this information to the government is actually declined. There will be fines in the Canadian instance, but industry has come back saying, we don't know exactly how this is going to work. It's not entirely clear. So again, it comes down to some of those enforcement issues and a willingness of the world to tackle the issue. The United Nations has a sustainable development goal of eradicating modern slavery by the year 2030. People who work on this problem say that that goal is increasingly slipping away from them, and that's partly what this Global Commission hopes to correct.
Margaret, thank you so much bringing us that exclusive interview you had with Theresa May and for that live report from London. Our senior international correspondent, Margaret Evans, there.